All right, Celtic fans, buckle up, because things have been absolutely wild at Lennoxtown lately. You'd think by now we'd have seen it all at this club, but once again, Celtic finds a way to surprise everyone. The past few days have been nothing short of chaos. Managers leaving, staff reshuffling, old faces coming back, and a fan base trying to make sense of it all. So let's dive into it. Martin O'Neill is back in the Celtic dugout. Let that sink in for a second. More than 2 decades after he left, the man who once led us through some of the most unforgettable nights in club history is suddenly back, even if only on an interim basis. When he walked out of that press conference, you could see it in his eyes. This wasn't something he had been planning for. You could tell he was genuinely surprised to find himself back in the hot seat. It's surreal, isn't it? One minute he's on TalkSport, making jokes about Hearts maybe winning the league, and the next he's standing in front of the media, saying he'll need all the luck in the world to steer Celtic through this storm. Now, alongside O'Neill, we've got Sean Maloney stepping up, a man who knows Celtic inside and out. And let's be honest, he bleeds green and white. Maloney's been working behind the scenes for a while now, helping shape the next generation of talent. But overnight, he's gone from academy development to being part of the first team's leadership. And as much as this might seem sudden, it also feels like the kind of thing that just happens at Celtic. There's always drama, always emotion, and somehow, always a story that no one could have scripted. But here's where it gets interesting, and a bit confusing. Most clubs in this situation would just hand the reins to someone like Maloney for a few matches and keep it simple. But no, Celtic had to go bigger. Bringing Martin O'Neill back feels like a Desmond masterstroke, the kind of bold, headline-grabbing move that only he could pull off. Remember when Brendan Rodgers left the first time? Boom! Neil Lennon was back almost instantly. It's that same go big or go home energy from Desmond again. He clearly likes a bit of theater when it comes to these managerial changes. But make no mistake, there's a lot of turbulence behind the scenes. John Kennedy, a man who's practically part of the club's furniture, has officially left after nearly 3 decades at Celtic. 27 years of service, countless contributions to players' development, and yet, as of now, not even an official statement from the club acknowledging his departure. That's honestly disappointing. For someone who's given so much to Celtic, he deserved a proper farewell. And it's not just Kennedy. Adam Sadler, Jack Lyons, and Glenn Driscoll have also walked out. In one swoop, almost the entire coaching structure under Brendan Rodgers has been dismantled. So, who's actually left at Lennoxtown? Well, the club confirmed that Stephen McManus and Mark Fotheringham are part of the new coaching team. McManus had been managing the B team, though now it's unclear who'll take his place there. There's talk that Johnny Hayes might step up, given he's been working closely with McManus, but again, no official word yet. Fotheringham, on the other hand, was most recently at Swansea, where he had a tough spell, but he brings experience and energy. It's also worth noting that Gavin Strachan and Stevie Woods remain part of the staff, which at least adds a bit of continuity to a situation that's otherwise completely shaken up. You can sense the uncertainty among everyone at the club. Even Martin O'Neill, as confident and experienced as he is, didn't shy away from admitting how unexpected all of this was. His honesty was actually refreshing. After months of vague comments and guarded statements under Brendan Rodgers, hearing O'Neill and Maloney speak openly felt like a breath of fresh air. There was no spin, no rehearsed lines, just 2 men acknowledging the chaos and trying to steady things as best they can. Maloney, especially, spoke with real sincerity. He admitted the last 24 hours had been hectic, emotional, and honestly, traumatic for many at Lennoxtown. The departure of John Kennedy, in particular, hit the players hard, especially the homegrown ones who came through the academy with his guidance. You think about names like Callum McGregor and Kieran Tierney. Both of them owe a huge part of their development to Kennedy's influence. It's no wonder the atmosphere has been emotional. During training, Maloney shared that the senior players stepped up massively. Alistair Johnston, who didn't even come through the Celtic system, showed incredible leadership. And despite being fresh off surgery, Cameron Carter-Vickers had already offered his support to help keep the group together. That's the kind of commitment you want to see during uncertain times. Both O'Neill and Maloney were clear, this is temporary. Neither of them is in the running for the permanent job. O'Neill was almost defiant about it. I'm here as interim manager. Nothing more. Maloney echoed that he'll return to his player pathway role once this short spell ends. So, the big question now is, who's next for Celtic? Early talk has turned to Kieran McKenna, currently at Ipswich Town. He's one of the brightest young managers in British football, guiding Ipswich through back-to-back promotions to the Premier League before their recent relegation. He's earned a lot of respect for his attacking football and meticulous approach. Reports suggest Celtic admire him and that he'll be seriously considered. The challenge? His contract runs until 2028, and it would reportedly take around £5 million in compensation to bring him in. But honestly, in today's football economy, that's not outrageous. Celtic have spent more on players who never quite delivered. McKenna feels like a classic Celtic-style appointment. Young, ambitious, Northern Irish roots, and a bit of that Desmond signature about him. You can just picture it. A modern manager coming in to rebuild the squad, reconnect with the fans, and play exciting football. But whether he'd leave English football for Scotland is another matter. Still, Celtic's appeal remains strong. The chance to manage in Europe, compete for trophies, and be part of one of football's most passionate fan bases is something that still carries weight. Another name floating around is Robbie Keane. Now that one's interesting. He's currently managing Ferencváros in Hungary, and while things haven't been perfect there, his team's been solid in Europe. Keane's got charisma and that old connection to Celtic, but he also carries a bit of off-field baggage, which could complicate things. It might not be the direction the club wants to go right now. Through all of this, one thing is clear. The club is in a state of upheaval. Staff leaving, temporary managers coming in, fans demanding answers, and the board under serious scrutiny. And yet, amid the madness, there's still that flicker of optimism that Celtic always seems to have. Maybe it's the memories of previous transitions that eventually led to success, like when the club ended up bringing in Brendan Rodgers after a messy search last time, or when they discovered Inch Postecoglou out of nowhere and watched him transform everything. So perhaps, just perhaps, there's reason to hope this storm leads somewhere better. And while nobody can predict what's next, one thing's for sure. It's never dull being a Celtic fan. Every twist, every turn, every headline feels like another chapter in this never-ending story. Martin O'Neill's back on the touchline, Sean Maloney's leading the lads in training, and the green and white roller coaster keeps on moving. Whatever happens next, the eyes of Scottish football, and far beyond, are locked firmly on Celtic Park. If the first few days of this new era felt chaotic, the days that followed have only made things even more surreal. You walk around Lennoxtown right now, and it's like the atmosphere is shifting every hour. Staff coming and going, players trying to make sense of what's happening, and the fans caught between excitement, confusion, and frustration. That's just the Celtic way, isn't it? We never do things quietly. Martin O'Neill has been doing his best to project calmness, but you can tell there's still an element of disbelief in him. He even joked that he's not quite sure how he ended up back here, sitting in the same seat 2 decades later, trying to fix a club that feels like it's spinning in circles. You get the sense he's trying to balance nostalgia with reality. The Celtic he's returned to is very different from the one he left. The football landscape has changed, the expectations have evolved, and the scrutiny has multiplied tenfold. His press conferences have been a mix of humility and humor. When the reporters wished him luck, he simply smiled and said, "I'll need it." That line captured the moment perfectly, because everyone knows he will. The team's morale has been shaky, the supporters restless, and the structure behind the scenes, frankly, unstable. Yet, somehow, O'Neill being there brings a touch of comfort, a reminder of better times, of nights when Celtic Park felt invincible. Sean Maloney has also been quietly impressive. For someone who's had to adapt overnight from academy work to first-team management, he's handled himself with maturity and class. He admitted how tough the past few days have been, but spoke passionately about the character of the players and the spirit in the dressing room. He's been leaning heavily on senior figures, and that's been key. Callum McGregor, even though he's carrying the weight of the captaincy during all this turmoil, has once again shown why he's the heartbeat of the team. One thing that really stands out is the openness between O'Neill and Maloney. They both seem genuinely honest about where things stand. No false promises, no pretending everything's fine. O'Neill even joked that if things go wrong, he'll just blame Maloney. That kind of self-awareness is actually refreshing in football, especially after the tension that's hung over Celtic in recent months. It's clear that after all the cautious press talk and corporate silence under Brendan Rodgers, the fans needed this kind of human touch again. Still, beneath the humor, there's an undeniable sense of urgency. The club is trying to patch things together while searching for its next permanent leader. The process is already underway, but there's a feeling that the board is walking a tightrope. After all, Celtic supporters are demanding more transparency, more vision, and less of the same mistakes that have haunted recent transfer windows and managerial appointments. Desmond, the man pulling the strings behind the scenes, has been in the spotlight again. His influence is everywhere, from the decision to bring O'Neill back to the type of names being linked with the job. Love him or hate him, Desmond's fingerprints are all over this chapter. And after he admitted that there's been a disconnect between the board and the manager, it's hard to ignore the irony of how things have unfolded. Just recently, the club's own representatives were denying that any such disconnect existed. Now, even Desmond's acknowledging what the fans have been shouting for months. And then there's the matter of the next permanent manager. Kieran McKenna's name continues to dominate the early discussions. The logic behind him makes sense. Young, intelligent, modern in his tactics, and someone who's proven he can build teams with limited resources. The challenge will be convincing him to leave the English Championship for Scottish football. But Celtic still has that allure. The chance to lead one of the biggest clubs in the world, to walk out in front of 60,000 fans at Parkhead, and to compete in Europe. It's a dream most managers would at least consider. The other names being thrown around feel less convincing. Robbie Keane brings a certain romance, sure. A former Celtic man, a charismatic presence, and a player who always carried passion on the pitch. But the reality is that Celtic needs stability and direction right now, not a sentimental appointment. The next manager has to rebuild trust, re-establish standards, and re-inspire the supporters. That takes someone with a clear plan, not just a famous name. Looking around the training ground, there's still a strong core of good people. Stevie Woods remains a constant in goalkeeping coaching. Gavin Strachan continues to contribute behind the scenes, and a few new faces like Mark Fotheringham bring fresh ideas. It's a patchwork operation at the moment, but at least it's functioning. What's missing is a sense of long-term clarity. Everyone knows O'Neill and Maloney are only temporary, which makes it hard to truly start building something sustainable. The players are effectively in limbo, trying to perform, trying to impress, but unsure of what direction the club will take next. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are swirling around the Scottish football scene this week, and they're getting louder by the hour. Lawrence Shankland, Hearts talisman, captain, and goal machine, may just have played his last game in maroon. According to several insiders close to both camps, the striker has sensationally cut ties with the Edinburgh club and could be set to pull on the famous green and white hoops of Celtic. It's a move that, if confirmed, would send shockwaves through the Premiership. Shankland, who has been nothing short of prolific since arriving at Tynecastle, has been the heartbeat of the Gorgie side, leading by example, scoring for fun, and carrying the team in crucial moments. But now, rumors from Parkhead suggest Brendan Rodgers has been keeping a keen eye on him, seeing Shankland as the missing piece in Celtic's attacking puzzle. Sources claim the relationship between Shankland and the Hearts hierarchy had been under strain for some time. Disagreements over new contract terms and ambitions for European football reportedly caused friction. Those close to the player say he's been restless in recent weeks, with one source adding, Lawrence wants to challenge for trophies. He's desperate to play in the Champions League. The Celtic faithful, meanwhile, are abuzz on social media, debating whether the Tynecastle hero could truly make the leap to Glasgow's East End. Some fans are cautious, recalling how few Hearts players have made a smooth transition to the intensity of Celtic Park. Others, though, are ecstatic at the prospect of a proven Scottish striker leading the line, a player who knows the league, the pressure, and the passion. Neither club has issued an official statement yet, but sightings of Shankland in Glasgow earlier this week have only fueled speculation. Could it be that the boy from Glasgow is finally coming home, swapping maroon for green in one of the most talked-about moves in recent memory? If true, it would be a bitter blow for Hearts and a massive coup for Celtic, one that could tilt the balance of power even further towards the champions. For now, the streets of Edinburgh and Glasgow alike are alive with chatter, and Scottish football waits with bated breath to see if this rumor becomes reality. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.